Hi, I'm Sid, and this is a short invitation to join us in one of our free Effortless IFS Zoom groups. In these groups, the focus is celebrating everything that arises, celebrating each of us and all of our parts. And through the group of us, be there 6 or a dozen, we hear how self is arising in each of us. What's the most prominent quality of self, of this beingness that's here now? And as we hear this in each of us, we find what's most like that here in our systems. And this is how we become more intimate with self, as we move more towards self-leadership, as it becomes more an ever-presence of our nature. And then we hear what parts are here? Like, what are the loudest 2 parts in your system? Sometimes we had this image of Rumi's guest house, where the parts come and go, and there's just a sense of welcoming. What are your parts right now? Who are your guests? And as we hear that, there's an intimacy with each other's systems. There's an intimacy. We discover, although it can be easier to know self as something that's kind of universal and shared, peace, love, flow, welcoming, care, absolution, joy, is knowing these as common qualities. But it becomes more of a stretch sometimes to know the parts that way. That when I'm speaking of my parts, I'm speaking of my critic and my achiever and my vulnerability and my uncertainty and my understanding part. As I describe that, to know our versions of these. And as we do this more and more, there's this sense of the compassion, and it goes deeper than compassion, the intimacy, and then the sense of this connectedness, this shared being. And then we discover our lives change. We discover when we're in the world, as Dick Schwartz will speak of the outside reflecting the inside, as we have more compassion, more love, more acceptance, more intimacy with everything that arises in us, that when we're met by a sharpness, a critic, a critique, a challenge outside of ourselves, there's a similar intimacy, a welcoming, a love. But that all sounds really heavy. But our groups are a lightness, they're a love, they're a play. They're meant to be a birthday party, a celebration for our parts. They're thrown for our parts. They're thrown to celebrate each of us and everything that arises in us. We don't. It's called effortless IFS, and so there's not a lot of doing. Instead, there's a sense of welcoming, of seeing, of hearing. And we don't even go so much into the stories of the parts. Instead, we become aware of them, and then we become aware of, what is that part really longing for? The one that wants to make more money, wants the partner to be different, that wants the body to be different. What is it longing for? And we start to find that what is being longed for, that much of that can be found here as an intrinsic quality of being, the peace, the flow, the okayness, the love, the safety that's here. So we play with that, but it's really, again, this might sound like, gosh, this sounds so heavy. No, it's not. It's love. It's welcoming. What we hope to do is we hope to mirror self to you, each of us, and we do this together. It's very much like we're in a room together. So it's not me, it's all of us coming together, resonating in self, and then as we share a sense of being welcome, celebrating, caring, being heard, and then just seeing where it all goes. And lastly, this is getting long, in Effortless IFS, okay, I'll share this. Effortless IFS happens on 3 levels, kind of concurrently. There's this top level that we call the playing field, and that's just the relationship of self to parts, the different ways self meets parts, connects, is intimate with, or we might find is intrinsic in. And so we have 7 different views, from a celebration to a sense of welcoming, the sense of parts soaking in the hot tub of self, to a sense of a simultaneous awareness where we notice that parts are not separate from, that almost they arise of. And then we have a sense of, the last one is almost like the Tao of IFS, a sense of a flow, self-led flow, celebration, love, aliveness. And so that's our playing field. But that's just the top level. The second level is like the ahas, the learning, the updating. And so this is what we're really, it's like you go out to play. The idea here is that we can have our systems heal to whatever degree they're wanting to heal. We're wanting to heal them as well as move to self-leadership, but do it like we learned sports as a kid, or the way we learned to ride a bike, or the way we learned to cook, or theater, or play games, where there's a lightness to it. And so as we're in this playing field, as we're practicing, as we're interacting together, we notice the ahas. In classic EIFS, we call this the updating, right? Parts update. And so we watch this systematically as parts learn, as they update and recognize, wow, self is always here. We are never alone. There is a presence here. As we recognize, each of us, our default qualities of self. As we recognize what is it that the parts are longing for. As to see, instead of being one target part at a time in effortless EIFS, there's awareness of at least two parts at a time. What's that about? Notice, if you're aware of two objects at the same time, you can't really be aware from here. There's an awareness from here. And there's a really cool thing that comes, because in order to suffer, we have to, in the EIFS model, suffering only happens from blending or identifying with a part. But if you're aware of two or more parts at the same time, it becomes really difficult to blend. And so we have a lot of tipping points like these, like intimacy, like seeing the innocence and beauty of what arises in us. And so we notice these tipping points. We have 10 primary tipping points, and we have about 30 others, but we focus on the 10, and we notice the learning that happens. But there's, just that beautiful question we ask in IFS, like, how do you feel towards that part, or how does your system feel towards it? We notice that there's an achiever part, a healer part that's trying to push it. No, we're just playing around. And as we do that, like I used to love sports as a kid. I'm kicking a soccer ball, playing basketball, playing ping pong. It's like something learns, right? Whoa, look at that. How did I do that spin with the ping pong paddle? Or swish with the basketball? What was that? Oh, wow, I did something differently. I learned something right? And so that's the updating that happens. Those are the tipping points. And the third level, and that's really the core. That's why I keep saying, hey, there's lightness, there's play, there's fun here. That's the sense of loving what is. It's the sense of, in effortless IFS's third level, is the recognition that this is a pathless path, that there is nothing that needs to be done, or no place that needs to go, that we need to go or change. Instead, there's the recognition of the beauty of what is, the innocence, and even the perfection of what is. Like, and truly, like Dick Schwartz will say, there are no bad parts. Can we really see that? And we go beyond that. We start to see and this is what Dick points to. He just uses a kind of a little lower bar with no bad parts. It's just like the innocence, the beauty. If you're around Dick Schwartz, you'll know that the man has literally fallen in love with all of his parts, with everything that arises in him. And it seems to be the same with everything that arises in those that are around him. That's all he can see. And so that's the third level here, which is just recognizing the beauty of what is. And that's where we play. And that's effortless IFS. And here's the good news. You don't have to step into one of these groups and be like, I don't know what's going on. If you go to effortlessifs.com, I've got dozens of videos of full groups, and you can get a sense of that. Or if you want to just have a fun invitation to this, it's just the highlight of the whole website is there's a page that's just movies, and they're just YouTube clips from movies or trailers of favorite movies, and maybe 40 of them that I find that are I'm calling these IFS movies, where they help with moving towards self-leadership and the healing of the system. And then I've got another page, there's some commentaries about movies, and we've got music and all kinds of things. So it tries to be, again, the aspiration is fun, light, play, and then healing and self-leadership, where a core of this work is also the IFS Parts Dance Party. What exactly? This can all happen through a dance party. The parts Dick calls it spontaneous and burdened. They can release their holdings. They can have, self is here. We're being met by self. Home is here. So come join us sometime. Any questions, concerns, just, write me on Facebook, send me an email, and then invitations. Again, it's all free. And you just, on the website, you just, at the very bottom, you just join, and you get, and I just send out, generally every week, invitations to the groups, but I do ask that you have a high level of confidence that this really is your thing, because it's good to have, because we really have a tight container when we do this. And so to get a sense of, is this really what I want? If you're just wanting to check it out, probably not so good. You like check out enough of the videos so that there's either like, if you don't know, uncertain, probably better not to come. But if there's like, yes, this really speaks to me, come join us. And me and many of the others that come will just be at your service as we all celebrate together. And of course, favorite place is the EIFS non-dual community Facebook group that Laura and I co-host, where everybody's just writing and exploring together, and people are putting up videos, and Laura's doing groups, and all kinds of things going on. So come see us. Bye.